Good morning, students. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Let's start with. Yes. So, what were the topics that we were discussing yesterday? Can someone tell me what were the topics we were discussing yesterday?
So waves, classification of waves
Yes.
according to the medium and the direction of
So we
vibration.
started with Okay, we discussed about the classification of waves. Then we saw what are electromagnetic waves, and we also saw what is the source of an electromagnetic wave. Right. So we saw all these things. Is there any doubt from yesterday's class? So just want to revise small things, then we will go to the next part of this chapter. Shall we get started? See, yesterday I asked you, what is the source of an electromagnetic wave? Can someone repeat it? If you want an electromagnetic wave, how will you generate it? Guys, can we be a little fast?
So electromagnetic waves are generated by accelerated charged particles.
Very good. So if you need to generate electromagnetic waves, you need charged particles. And what are you supposed to do with those charged particles? You need to put them in the oscillation. So we know that oscillating charged particles have the tendency to accelerate. So the source of an electromagnetic wave is accelerated charged particle. I gave you the explanation also yesterday. Apart from that, we also know that the fact that an oscillating charged particle will generate oscillating electric field, which in turn will produce the oscillating magnetic field. Similarly, the vice versa will also happen, right? Yes. Next is the frequency of the electromagnetic wave is exactly equal to the frequency of the oscillating particle. Means whatever is the frequency of the electromagnetic wave that you require, you need to give the same amount of frequency to that oscillating charged particle. Okay. The next question is, what is the nature of electromagnetic waves? Okay. So let's think about it. Electromagnetic waves are transverse waves. We already know this fact, right? Transverse in the sense electric field and magnetic field are perpendicular to each other. They are perpendicular to direction of propagation also, right? Similarly, we know the fact, right? Transverse waves are those in which the direction of disturbance or displacement in the medium is perpendicular to that of the propagation of the wave. Okay. Now, last year you had a concept called as traveling or progressive wave. Do you guys remember this? So there is something called as a traveling or progressive wave. Sometimes it is referred to as plane progressive wave. Okay. And these plane progressive waves have an equation associated with it. suppose there is a wave like this, okay, which is traveling along the positive x direction. Listen to this carefully, okay? If there is a plane progressive wave which is traveling along the positive x direction and the particles are vibrating, so vibration is along y direction, okay? Then the displacement of the particle is given as a sine, where a is this thing, a sine of kx minus omega t. Okay, so this is called as the equation of, please make a note of it, plane progressive wave. Right, y is equal to a sine of kx minus omega t, where y is the displacement of particle in y direction, a is the amplitude, k is what? K is called as angular wave number, omega is called as angular frequency, and the most important point here is the negative sign indicates that the wave is traveling in positive x direction. Okay, please make a note of all these points.
Sir, what is X, sir?
X is the displacement along x direction. So here y is written as a function of displacement and time.
Sir, could you show the diagram from here?
Yeah, sure. One minute, wait. Let me know once you're done. So here, okay. So remember always a plane progressive wave, the displacement of a plane progressive wave's particle is always written as a function of displacement in x direction and its time. Okay. So there is a reason why I explained this. If you observe electromagnetic wave, so this electromagnetic wave is also propagating along the x direction. And we know the fact that the electric and the magnetic fields are perpendicular to the wave propagation. Suppose if we have the wave propagating along x-axis, let me be more specific, along the positive x-axis, if the electric field is along the y-axis, okay, and magnetic field is along the z-axis. So propagation alone, I'm giving a proper direction because vibration will take place in both positive y and negative y. So if you observe, since all these things are happening, x, y, and z, since they are mutually perpendicular to each other, we call them as transverse waves. And for these transverse waves which are propagating, we can write the equation of electric field and magnetic field from the concept of plane progressive waves. How do we write it? So yesterday I showed you a diagram, right?
Yes, sir.
So we know that electric field was along y direction. So when the electric field is along y direction, can I write it as E naught, where E naught stands for the amplitude of the electric field, sine of kx minus omega t. Okay. Because here I told you that the wave is traveling in positive x direction. So since it is positive x direction, minus sign should be taken into consideration, because that is how the derivation is done. Right? E naught stands for what? Amplitude of electric field. K stands for angular wave number or propagation constant. Okay. So we know what is a wave number, right? What is wave number? This also you would have learned in chemistry. What is wave number?
Number of waves per unit length.
Correct. So how do you write it? What is the mathematical formula for it? Is 1 divided by?
1 by lambda.
Correct. So 1 by lambda is wave number. Whenever the word angular comes, right, you should multiply that with 2 pi. So 2 pi by lambda is what is called as k. Okay. Similarly, what is omega? It is called as angular frequency. You know, frequency is f. The word angular comes, multiply with 2 pi. So 2 pi into f is what is called as this thing, angular frequency, right? So all these things are known to us. So what is that you're able to understand? The displacement of electric field is along y direction, and its direction of propagation is along x. Since you have a minus sign here, it is positive x. In a similar way, if you're asked to write the equation of magnetic field, how will you write it? So magnetic field is represented by the symbol B. See, if electric field is along y direction, direction of propagation is along x, what should be the direction of magnetic field?
Along with
Yes. So I should write Bz is equal to B naught into sine of the same kx minus omega t. Okay. Just a second. Yeah. So Bz is equal to B naught into sine of kx minus omega t. I hope it is clear, guys. Right. So from this, what we can understand is, since omega is equal to 2 pi f, or 2 pi, can I write it as 2 pi by capital T also? Somebody's mic is on, please switch it off.
So we
Similarly,
can't see your screen.
you're not able to see my screen? Oh, sorry. Okay. Now I hope it is clear, right? So omega is equal to 2 pi f or 2 pi by t, and k is equal to 2 pi by lambda, correct? So if I ask what is the speed of a wave, what will you say? See, speed generally means distance by time. So distance is generally lambda. To cover a distance of lambda, the time taken is one time period. So what I'm going to do is, so lambda by t is generally the speed of a wave. Now listen to this carefully. Omega divided by k is going to give you what? Omega is 2 pi by capital T. The whole divided by k is 2 pi by lambda. 2 pi and 2 pi will get cancelled. Lambda will go to numerator. So lambda divided by T. This is going to give you the speed of electromagnetic wave. So what I'm trying to say is, sometimes in the question, they'll give you these equations and ask you to calculate the speed of this electromagnetic wave. Then what are you supposed to do? Find the value of omega, find the value of k from the equation by doing a comparative study, divide omega with k, that will give you the speed of electromagnetic wave. So this is the speed of electromagnetic wave. Okay. So I hope you have written everything. So this is what I discussed. Okay. Next is another way of finding the speed of electromagnetic wave. So it is something like this. We know that mu naught divided by 4 pi is 10 power minus 7. We know this, right? 1 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught is 9 into 10 power 9. I'm not talking about the units. Right. Now what I'm going to do is, one divided by 4 pi epsilon naught divided by mu naught by 4 pi. I'm dividing both. I'm dividing 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught with mu naught by 4 pi. This will give us what? 9 into 10 power 9. So 4 pi will get cancelled, which implies 1 divided by mu naught into epsilon naught is equal to 9 into this 10 power minus 7 will go to the numerator. Will become 9 into 10 power 16. Correct? So 1 divided by, if I take square root on both the sides, the root of mu naught into epsilon naught will give us 3 into 10 power 8. Are you able to understand what I'm trying to say? So it will give us 3 into 10 power 8. And what is this 3 into n power 8? 10 power 8. If you take the units of this and divide both, you will get the final answer in terms of meter per second only. So 3 into 10 power 8 meter per second is going to give us the speed of light in vacuum. So next time onwards, if you see this expression 1 divided by root of mu naught into epsilon naught, you should remember that value is equal to 3 into 10 power 8 meters per second.
Sir, then the speed of electromagnetic wave is always constant.
It is always a constant because electromagnetic wave, because light is also an electromagnetic wave, right?
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So speed of an electromagnetic wave, yes, it is constant in which medium? In vacuum or air medium. But if the medium changes, yes, its speed will change. Okay. I hope I'm clear, right?
Yes.
So that is one way. Similarly, the other way of finding the speed of light, so we know that speed of light in vacuum is represented by the symbol C. So C can be written as E divided by B also, where E stands for the magnitude of electric field and B stands for magnitude of magnetic field.
So can I say what is C?
C is speed of light. Speed of light is generally represented by the symbol C, especially in vacuum.
Okay, sir.
Sir, a doubt, sir.
Please tell me.
How did we get E by B, sir, for C?
It is something similar. Like E is, you have written this expression, no? This EY and B, you have written, no? You have to
Yes, sir.
differentiate them and do all those things. You have to do partial differentiation and then derive all those things. That is not a part of your syllabus, so I didn't explain it. Not needed. So what you need to do is you need to differentiate these two things with respect to time alone and then get this equation.
Okay, sir.
Okay. You can just remember this, that's it. And if I have to tell you something similar, you would have seen this kind of an equation already in 4th chapter. What is it? By now you should remember. I've told that is an important topic also. V is equal to E by B. You would have seen it somewhere.
Yes, sir.
Velocity selector.
Perfect. You would have seen it under velocity selector. You remember that is the speed with which a particle is supposed to be projected into perpendicular electric and magnetic field so that it travels without any deviation. Okay, it's something similar.
Okay, sir. Understood.
Okay, so you can remember, I'm just telling for the sake of remembrance, it's not the same approach of derivation. I hope I'm clear till this point. So these are all the mathematical parts that are related to the topics of electromagnetic wave. Is there any doubt till here? I'll just give you a minute time. Go through your notes. If there is any doubt, please get it clarified. Else I'll proceed to the next part of this chapter.
Done, sir.
Okay. Yes. Now we will discuss about the energy of an electromagnetic. So we know that what is a wave actually? From the definition of wave, we are clear with one fact. What is it? Wave is a disturbance. And what does a disturbance mainly do? What is the job of the
Transfer energy.
perfect? It is mainly its job is to transfer energy from one place to another. So there will be some energy associated with electromagnetic wave. Correct? So that is what we are going to see. But before we see this concept, we need to answer certain questions. If we say that electromagnetic wave has energy associated with it, the energy is coming due to which fields? And where does this energy come from? Right? We need to answer this. So we know that electromagnetic wave consists of what?
Electric field and magnetic field.
Electric field and magnetic field. So it will have electrostatic energy and magnetic energy. Correct? So if you are able to add this electrostatic and magnetic energy together, then that will give you the combined effect of the energy possessed by the electromagnetic wave. So see, as electromagnetic waves propagate, they carry energy. Known fact. Because of this property, they have so many practical applications in our day-to-day life. Like, let's take the best example. We are able to communicate now only because of the electromagnetic waves. Right, whatever you call the Zoom or Wi-Fi, whatever it is all working on these principles only. Right. So energy in electromagnetic wave can be divided into two parts. It's partly carried by the electric field and partly carried by the magnetic field. Right. Now here, though the topic is energy, we'll be calculating the energy density. You already know this energy density. Right? Do you guys remember what is the energy density in the case of electric field?
1/2 into epsilon naught E square.
Correct. So total energy stored per unit volume in an electromagnetic wave. So can I write, see, listen, total energy stored per unit volume means what are we talking about? We are talking about energy density, but it is written as E only. Okay, ET, that is T stands for total, is equal to energy stored per unit volume by electric field plus energy stored per unit volume by magnetic field. Right. So how can I write ET as energy stored by electric field plus the energy per unit volume stored by the magnetic field? So ET is equal to half into energy density of electric field is half epsilon naught E square plus magnetic energy per unit volume is given as half into, see, wherever epsilon naught comes, no, this is the way you remember. Epsilon naught and mu naught will be inverse operations. Right? You would have observed by now, wherever there is 1/4 pi epsilon naught, you would have replaced it with mu naught by 4 pi. So 1/4 pi is the constant. Epsilon naught is replaced with 1 by epsilon naught is replaced with mu naught. So epsilon naught should be replaced with 1 by mu naught into, instead of E square, you have B square. Okay. So if you want to see the derivation of this formula in the 6th chapter, there is a problem, revisit it again. There in the problem, we would have seen how this formula has come. Okay. Half epsilon naught E square plus B square divided by 2 times mu naught is going to give us the value. I hope you guys are writing it along with me. Half epsilon naught E square plus B square divided by 2 times mu. So let this be equation number 1. So we know the fact that C is equal to E by B. Correct? So C is equal to E by B. That we have already seen. Similarly, C is also equal to 1 divided by root of mu naught into epsilon naught. Accepted, guys?
Yes, sir.
Right? Now, we need to use these two parameters in this equation to do some manipulation. That's it. Let me call this as 2. Either convert electric field in terms of magnetic field or convert magnetic field in terms of electric field. Do the vice versa, whichever. So, I'm going to convert electric field in terms of magnetic field. So, E, can I write it as B into C? Or I'll write small c into B. Similarly, C square into mu naught, or listen, C square into mu naught is equal to 1 by epsilon naught. I'm squaring on both the sides, pushing the mu naught to the other side, which implies epsilon naught is equal to 1 by mu naught into C square. Accepted? Now see, if I take that E is equal to C into B and substitute it in 1, so ET will be equal to half into epsilon naught into, in the place of E, I will substitute this. I'll get C square into B square. Right? And in the place of epsilon naught, I will see 1 minute, a small correction. In the place of epsilon naught, I will substitute this 1 by mu naught into C square into, in the place of E, I will substitute this. I'll get C square into B square. So C square and B square are gone. Plus, you already have a B square divided by 2 times mu naught. So this will be B square divided by 2 times mu naught plus B square divided by 2 times mu naught. So what is this going to give us? It will give us B square divided by mu naught. So this is the energy, the total energy possessed by an electromagnetic wave. So total energy per unit volume possessed by an electromagnetic wave. Or if you rearrange the equation, that is, if you write B in terms of E and mu naught in terms of epsilon naught and try to solve it, you would have got the answer as epsilon naught E square also. Are you guys able to understand what I'm trying to say here, or you want me to do and show?
Understood, sir.
Understood, right? Okay. So you will either get B square by mu naught, because I've converted electric field in terms of magnetic field, epsilon naught in terms of mu naught. Do the vice versa, you'll get this thing. So this is the total energy per unit volume possessed by an electromagnetic wave. Okay, please make a note of this point. Okay. So let me show you all these things. So total energy is epsilon naught E square. Okay. So based on this, there are certain properties that we can define. So we have seen what is the nature of an electromagnetic wave. Now we'll be concerned about what are all the properties associated with it. So properties of electromagnetic waves. So note this point. Somebody asked me, so velocity of electromagnetic waves in space or vacuum is a fundamental constant, and its value is 3 into 10 power 8 meter per second. Okay. And we know that no material medium is required for propagation of electromagnetic waves. They are non-mechanical waves, but they can propagate in a medium as well. This is also known. And electromagnetic waves carry both energy and momentum. So ET is equal to epsilon naught into E square. And these are all the conclusions that are done under the name of properties of electromagnetic waves. If you see, the same thing gets repeated multiple times, right? And the last part that we need to understand with respect to the mathematical expressions is electromagnetic waves exert pressure. Okay, the question is, how do they exert pressure? So first of all, what comes to our mind when we talk about pressure? Pressure is the amount of force per unit area. Means if these electromagnetic waves are hitting a surface, see, for example, sunlight is falling on us, right? So sunlight is actually exerting a pressure on us. But why do we not feel it? That's a different story. But yes, if you ask the question, it does exert some pressure. And how can I say that they are exerting pressure? It is because we know that electromagnetic waves carry energy, and they also have momentum associated with them. As they carry energy and momentum, they exert pressure, and the pressure exerted by the electromagnetic waves is more technically known as radiation pressure. So it is technically known as the radiation pressure. So let us take an example. So sunlight is an example, as I told you. So which comes from sun is in the form of visible light rays, right? So which are also a part of the electromagnetic spectrum. So if we keep our palm in the sun for some time, what will happen? The palm becomes warm and it starts sweating. It's a known fact, right? So why is this happening? This is purely happening because the sunlight is getting transferred in the form of electromagnetic waves, and they carry energy. Suppose the total energy transferred to the hand is E. Then how can you write momentum in terms of E? How can you write momentum in terms of E? So momentum is defined as the amount of energy transferred divided by the speed with which the light is traveling. Okay. So how I am repeating it, momentum is equal to the energy of the electromagnetic wave divided by C. So this is a dimensionally derived quantity. Okay, E divided by C, where C is the speed of light, but we know the fact that C is a very, very large quantity. And here E doesn't stand for electric field, E stands for the energy that is getting transferred. Okay. Now, we know that C is a very, very large quantity, then what will happen to the momentum? When the denominator is very large, the whole value will become very small, right? So since C is a very large quantity, momentum is very less. Hence, the pressure exerted will also be less. Because why I'm relating pressure to momentum is because what is pressure, guys? Force per unit area. But according to Newton's second law, what does force stand for? It is the rate of change of momentum divided. It is the rate of change of linear momentum divided by area. So if the linear momentum is less, can I say that the pressure is less? As simple as that, because they are directly proportional values, right? So that is the reason why we had been concentrating on momentum and energy, because these are the two easily calculatable parameters with respect to electromagnetic waves. Okay, so
Sir,
if you have a,
sir.
please tell me.
So we're not assuming E is large, sir. It will be a constant value.
No, E will not be large. E is not going to be large.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Understood, sir.
So here energy, see, if we keep our palm in the sun for some time, it becomes warm and starts sweating. Why is it happening? Because of the heat energy that is getting transferred only, right? What if E was very high? We will not be able to sustain, right? So
Yes,
compared to
sir.
the speed of light, E is less. Okay, so this statement is trying to tell us, why don't we feel the pressure of sunlight on our hand? Okay, the reason is because the momentum is very small. Why is the momentum small? Because the speed of light is more. Okay, so I'm stressing again and again because this might come in assertion reason. I don't know. I'm only worried about that part of the exam. So I'm only worried about that section in the exam. Okay. So this is all the theoretical part. Okay? There is little more left in this chapter. I'll come to that. Just give me a second. Listen. So we have discussed this part. Sources of electromagnetic waves. Right, we have discussed this. Nature of electromagnetic waves, we have discussed. Okay. So this electromagnetic spectrum is there. No, this is the last topic of this chapter. I will just give you an outline and then I'll do some problems based on it. Okay. So electromagnetic spectrum, I hope you would have seen this thing in chemistry already. Correct?
Yes, sir.
So if you take this electromagnetic spectrum based on the frequency and wavelength, each electromagnetic wave is given a special name, like long radio waves, AM radio, television and FM radio, short radio waves, microwaves, infrared, visible light, ultraviolet, X-rays, and gamma rays. Okay, so frequency is increasing in this direction, and the wavelength is increasing in this direction. Okay, so your job in this chapter is to read about these things. So if you take about a radio wave, we know one thing that is clear. So radio wave is also an electromagnetic wave. So if somebody asks you, how is an electromagnetic wave generated? What will you say? It is an accelerated charged particle. So if I take accelerated charged particle as a universal set, Okay, as a universal set. For radio waves to be produced, what are we supposed to do? Radio waves are produced by the accelerated motion of charges in conducting wires. Okay, so you need to prepare a table. This part alone, I will give it as a self-study concept because there is nothing for me to explain. It's full of theory only. How you need to prepare is radio waves first. You need to write down the source. So you'll be reading this and you will write it down. So what is the source of it? Now you tell me, how will you take the data from it?
Source is accelerated motion of charges, sir.
Accelerated charge particles in what? In conducting wires. Okay, next. Second thing is, what are their uses? Why do we use radio waves, or where do we use radio waves? Radio waves are mainly used in radio and television communication system. If you take this radio waves, right, their main application is in the communication system. Okay, so radio and television. Third, after that, what is that you are able to see? They are generally in the frequency range. So next is write down the frequency range. So when you write down the frequency range, what will be the answer? They are between 500 kilohertz to 500 kilohertz to how much is it? 1000 megahertz. Are you able to understand how to take the data? Okay. Next is the amplitude modulated band is between. So there is something called as an AM wave. AM wave is called as amplitude modulated wave or amplitude modulation. So it is 530 kilohertz to 1710 kilohertz. Okay. So you're able to understand, guys, what I'm trying to say? This data alone, I am giving it as a self-study concept. You need to take your notes and prepare a table like this. Clear? Similarly, you need to talk about microwaves. So what are microwaves? They are short wavelength radio waves with frequency in gigahertz range. Okay, you will write down all these points. Now the question is, how will they put a question in the exam? Okay. Name the electromagnetic waves whose frequency range is between 500 kilohertz to 1000 megahertz. Okay, they will not directly ask you, write down the frequency range of radio waves. They will say, let's say they are giving you the option. The frequency of an electromagnetic wave is in the range of 500 kilohertz to 1000 megahertz. In MCQ, let's say they are giving you options like radio waves, microwaves, infrared waves, visible light. What will your answer be? So you need to choose the radio waves. So that data should be clear in your hands. So how they will pick the question is from this particular table. Whatever I told you will be here. Or sometimes they'll put a question like this. Name the electromagnetic waves which are produced due to the rapid production and deceleration of electrons in aerials. Okay, what are they? Radio waves. Okay. So what I want you to do, you prepare a note. If you have a doubt, then I will start discussing. Okay, because these are all very, very, very theoretical part. It is all about memorizing. There is nothing for me to teach. Okay, so this is the only part I'm giving as self-study. Do it as a homework and come. Next, we will do some problems based on the topics that we have discussed today. So there is a plain electromagnetic wave of frequency 25 megahertz. Okay, so what is the frequency? 25 into megahertz. Mega is 10 power 6 hertz, which travels in free space along the x direction. At a particular point in space and time, the electric field is confined to y direction with a value of 6.3 J cap volt per meter. What is the magnetic field at this point? B is equal to what? So how to do this? So they mentioned that it is traveling in free space. Free space is vacuum, right? So E is given, B is given. Sorry, B is to be found. So what is the other data that we know in the free
C
space?
equal to E by B.
That's it. So the frequency is given only to confuse you, not needed. So C is equal to E by B. B will be equal to 6.3 divided by 3 into 10 power 8. So this will be 2.1. 2.1 into 10 power minus 8 Tesla will be the answer. See, generally, whenever you take electromagnetic wave, right, one important point I would like to stress here is because this concept you'll use in 10th chapter, the electric field will have a dominating value. Look at the values, no, there's 6.3, there's only 2.1 into 10 power minus 8 Tesla. But can you tell me in which direction will it propagate? So they asked B as a vector, they didn't ask it in terms of magnitude. Since electric field is confined to y direction, the progressive wave is traveling in the x direction. Magnetic field should be in the z direction. So it should be 2.1 into 10 power minus 8 k cap. Okay, those many Tesla will give you the answer. Correct? Next. Shall we do 8.3? So in 8.3, the magnetic field in a plane electromagnetic wave is given as By is equal to 2 into 10 power minus 7 sine of 0.5 into 10 power 3x plus 1.5 into 10 power 11 t Tesla. What is the wavelength and frequency of the wave? So in this case, if you see magnetic field is along the y direction, which is 2 into 10 power minus 7 sine of 0.5 into 10 power 3x plus 1.5 into 10 power 11 t, these many Tesla, right? So I can write the general equation By is equal to B naught into sine of kx plus omega t. What is that you can conclude this? If you look at this equation, what comes to your mind? Kx plus omega t. What does it plus indicate? That the wave is
Negative
traveling
x-axis.
Yes, it is traveling in the negative x direction. So whatever is the value here, that is the direction. So if it is x here, the wave is traveling in x direction. If it is y here, the wave is traveling in y direction. Okay. So whatever is the multiplication factor of k, that is what the direction in which the wave is propagating. So it is traveling in negative x direction. What did they ask? What is the wavelength and frequency? How to find the wavelength? So if you do a comparative study, k will be equal to 0.5 into 10 power 3, but k will give you a relation between wavelength, so 2 pi by lambda. So lambda will be equal to 2 pi divided by 0.5 into 10 power 3. So 0.5 is half, so it will be 4 pi into 10 power minus 3. Those millimeters. So 4 pi means pi is 3.14. 3.14 into 4 is how much? 1.46, 1 point, I think it is 12.6 something, right? If you take it as 3.2, it will be easy. That part I'm leaving it to you. So 4 pi into 10 power minus 3. 1 minute. It should be in terms of meter, no? Oh, 10 power minus 3 is removed. Yeah. So 12 point something into 10 power minus 3 meter. Or if you want to write it in centimeter, you can convert it by multiplying with this 10 power minus 3. They asked about frequency, how to calculate frequency. So we know that omega is equal to 1.5 into 10 power 11, but omega gives you the frequency. So f is equal to 1.5 into 10 power 11 divided by 2. Right? If you multiply, if you solve this, you will get the frequency of this electromagnetic wave. Now, since they have given you the expression of magnetic field, how you find the next question is a tricky one. What is the expression for the electric field? The electric field should be in which direction, guys? Wave is traveling in x direction. Magnetic field is in y direction. So electric field should be in z direction. So Ez, can I write it as E naught into the same quantity, E naught into sine of 0.5 into 10 power 3x plus 1.5 into 10 power 11t. Can I write? So how do you find E naught? You people tell me. It's similar to previous problem. So E naught is equal to C times V naught. C is how much? 3 into 10
into
power
10
3.
power.
P naught is 2 into 10 power minus 7. How much is this one? 60. Correct? So Ez will be equal to 60 times sine of 0.5x, 0.5 into 10 power 3x plus 1.5 into 10 power 11. I hope it is clear.
Yes, sir, it's clear.
Right? That's good. It's to a slightly tougher, but yeah, we'll discuss. Can I rub this?
Yes, sir.
So there is light with an energy flux. So you know what is flux, right? Flux is, see, the flux is technical terms in physics, but to put it in simple terms, flux means density. Remember that. They say electric field, electric flux, the number of electric field lines per unit area. Similarly, what do you mean by energy flux? You can also call it as energy density. Are you able to understand? So it is 18 watt per centimeter square. Sometimes this energy flux is also called as intensity. You know what is intensity? So if you don't know, please write it down. Anybody who knows what is the meaning of intensity? Can you tell me? Intensity of light means what? Intensity is the amount of power radiated per unit area. Power is measured in watt, area is measured in meter square or centimeter square. So that is given another name called as energy flux. So it is 18 watt per centimeter square, falls on a non-reflecting surface with at normal incidence. So there is a non-reflecting surface and light rays are falling on this non-reflecting surface parallel. So complete absorption is taking place. So you know what is the normal incidence, right? It is hitting at 90 degrees. If the surface has an area of 20 centimeters square, find the average force exerted on the surface during 30-minute time span. Means how heat it will get, how much amount of heat it will be able to absorb is what we need to understand and calculate. Okay. So here the important point is non-reflecting surface. So what do you think will happen? There will be a complete absorption taking place. So how to calculate the total energy, guys? On a surface of 1 centimeter square, there will be a power of 18 watt that is taking place. So how to calculate the total energy? So total energy is equal to, listen to this carefully, intensity into the area on which it is falling into time. So you might have a doubt, sir, how did this formula come? Very simple, okay? It's very, very simple. Listen to this carefully. Did you understand what is intensity? The amount of power per unit area. So intensity, but what is power? Power is work done per unit time. So can I write work done per unit area per unit time is also equal to intensity, right? Then what will work done be equal to? Intensity into area into time. But we know that work done is nothing but energy. So that's what I applied, intensity into area into time. So what is intensity, guys? 18 watt per centimeter square. And what is the area on which it is falling? 20. And what is the time duration for which it is falling? 30. So 30 into 60 seconds. So this 20 centimeters square, this and this will get cancelled. So when you multiply everything, you will get 6.48 into 10 power 5. So once you get the total energy that is absorbed, since you need to calculate the force is momentum per time. So we'll calculate momentum. I told you the formula for momentum. Momentum is the energy absorbed per unit time, or you can write it as E divided by C. What is the value of E? E is 6.48 into 10 power 5 divided by C is 3 into 10 power 8. Then you will get the value of momentum. Once you get the value of momentum, force is what? Take that momentum and substitute it in the numerator and divide it with the time. So time will be how much? 0.18 into 10 power 4 if you do these two things. So how did you get that 0.18 into 10 power 4? It is 1800 seconds. No, 1800 seconds. They wrote it as 0.18 into 10 power 4 because they wanted the denominator to be smaller than the numerator. So once you write that, you will get the value of force. So that is the amount of force exerted by the light on this non-reflecting surface. I hope it's clear.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is how you do these problems, guys. And there is one last problem that we'll discuss tomorrow. And there is another concept called as displacement current. Let me check if that is there because last year they removed it. So let me check if the topic is there. If it is there, I'll teach, else this chapter is over. Okay, it's a very, very small chapter. Only part I repeated, the theory part alone I left it to you guys. You study and come. If there is any doubt, please ask. Okay. So apart from that, I hope things are clear to you. So it's 7:45. It's better we wind up. Okay. So I'll see you all tomorrow.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, could you please
Thank you, sir.
post the notes that you used to teach in
You want me to
the
send
app?
this?
Yes, sir, those
Okay.
notes.
The one which I prepared
Yes, sir, handwritten.
and written. It's okay, I'll send it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.